Okay, take 47.
Yes. Welcome back to the channel. In this episode, I interview a legendary snowboarder, author, and artist. In 2022, she was inducted into the U.S. Ski and Snowboarding Hall of Fame. The one and only Tina Basich.
My name is Tina Basich, and I am a snowboarder girl.
What was it like breaking into snowboarding as a woman?
Well, for me, it was a time in snowboarding that is not like today. If you can imagine a time when you would go to the resort, the one resort in Tahoe that allowed snowboarding, and there was only a handful of snowboarders there, I was often one or two girls on the mountain, period. So it felt like a new sport or a new thing that was happening that was exciting, but it wasn't defined yet. So being a part of something new was what we were focused on, but then as time went by, I did notice that there weren't very many girl participants in the sport. And so for me, I kind of had to show my ponytail a little bit more to be noticed, and I kind of got that response like, oh, you're a girl.
You designed some of the first women's snowboarding equipment. Would you tell us about the old boards and what you give you the idea of designing a board for women?
If you can imagine, snowboarding had become a sport and people were starting to notice at the ski resorts. There was many places up in Lake Tahoe that decided to allow us on their mountain. I don't think they really wanted us there, but there was some ticket dollars to get and we wanted to ride. So back in those days, the equipment was getting invented and new things were happening. My first snowboard had fins on it, like a surfboard. My first boots were Sorels that I bought at the 7-Eleven. So as snowboarding grew, the equipment started to evolve. And then I noticed that there was just no equipment that fit me. Like I really had to sew my pants and try and get the smallest board I could, and it was heavy to lift off the ground, and I wanted to do tricks. So I requested that we design a snowboard with my sponsor, and they agreed. And really, nobody believed that it was going to work. Lots of reps and companies said, you can't sell women's snowboarding gear. There's not enough of a market for it. They can just ride the guys' stuff. And we launched it, and we knew that we had to make a splash on the industry, so we made it pink with flowers, and we proved them wrong because the sales went through the roof.
How old were you when you landed the first backside 720 in a women's competition?
Well, that was one of my biggest moments in my career competitively. And it was in 1998. I believe I was about 29. And I had this idea where I would spin around once. And then when we would go in the backcountry, we would have powder landing. So it's kind of like a foam pit, like you can try whatever you wanted to. So I started spinning and trying to spin more and more and more. And I finally got my board around twice. I had the X Games invitation for that winter, and I thought, okay, the next X Games, I'm going to try this trick. And so when I showed up, I was amazed and a little frightened because the jump was the biggest jump I'd ever seen or ever jumped. And so I had some doubt of if I should even attempt this new trick because I hadn't really landed it yet. And I remember being at the top of the jump thinking, okay, I got to go for it. And I'm going to make the decision that I'm going to drop in and try the 720 before I even put my board on because I'm not going to back out. I'm going to do it. And so I put my board on. I took 3 breaths and then dropped in. And luckily, the stars aligned, and I spun around twice and kind of dragged out the landing, but it was enough for the gold medal, and it really marked one of the highlights of my career.
So, Boarding for Breast Cancer is an incredible organization. What inspired you to co-found this nonprofit?
Boarding for Breast Cancer actually started not as a nonprofit. It was more of an idea among a group of friends mostly women in the snowboarding industry, because a girlfriend of ours had gotten diagnosed. And she was so young that she was misdiagnosed 3 times. So for her to come to us with a story of what she was going through, we knew we had to do something to support her. So the very first Boarding for Breast Cancer event was at Sierra at Tahoe, and the Beastie Boys played. And that coming together for the cause and having the whole industry and the Beastie Boys come and donate their time to bring everybody together for awareness just made us realize that we wanted to do this every year and add on to that feeling. So we did become a nonprofit, and we focus on getting the awareness out there about breast cancer, and the early detection is the best prevention.
Pretty Good for a Girl is such a powerful title for your autobiography. Would you tell us the story behind that phrase and what it means to you?
So when I was finished with my career, which is a very hard thing to do as an athlete, because you kind of want to be a pro snowboarder forever, but it doesn't always work that way. I think athletes can relate to that, and your body can only take a beating and, get so far in your career until you have to kind of decide if you're done or not. And so for me, I broke my leg in 1999, and I realized that that was kind of an ending chapter to my competitive career, and I realized that I had some stories to tell. So I thought of writing a book, and the thought of the title came, Pretty Good for a Girl. Like, what does that really mean? And that's kind of what pushed me forward. Like, they think I'm good? Watch this, I'm a girl.
What inspired you to pursue art, and what role creativity plays in your life now?
Well, I grew up with a paintbrush in my hand, and I went to the Waldorf school that had a lot of arts in the curriculum. So I was always doing art my whole life. And then when my daughter Addison was diagnosed with scoliosis about 8 years ago, I realized that I needed my art to process just the idea of that and how to accept it and bring it in to a safe place for me to kind of visually put her MRI in art and remove it from this scary place into this place that felt okay. So I started doing mixed media art with layers of painting and paper. So this is kind of a mixed media art I did on a snowboard. And for me, it was a process maybe as a mother to go through that scoliosis journey. It was also a way to show Addison how we can turn heavy news into just acceptance. And it was also a way for me to sell art and raise money for her treatment.
So I hear you making a movie. Would you tell us about that?
I'm working on a documentary to preserve a little bit of the history and tell my story through snowboarding. It's called Catching Light, and people don't recognize, like they'd think like it's called Snowboarder Girl or something like that right off the bat, but when I really thought about what my snowboarding adventures came down to, it was really about capturing these moments when everything comes together, and for me, it has a lot to do with the light and the snow, and when the side light is coming in and the powder has just landed and you're up at the top of the mountain about to have this run, when you start into that feeling of going back and forth and floating, it really comes together and it really lifts me up.
So what does that phrase, powerful woman, mean to you?
Powerful women means a woman who believes in herself. Because I really think that if you believe in yourself, you have the power to make it happen.
Thank you, Tina, for being my guest on Down to Chat. You are truly inspirational, and I'm so happy to have you as one of the powerful women in my life. I recommend going to Rainbow 96 on Down to Chat. Like, subscribe, and comment for powerful more interviews. They're amazing, so sit back and relax and enjoy the show.